This is Curtis here, and these are the best Auto Duel decks in Duel Links. Just a bit of a disclaimer before we get started. These decks are for general use and designed to be effective against all decks and not against specific decks. They're also free to play decks, so they're not going to contain multiple copies of the card that you have to buy with gems, especially from the bigger boxes. So it's actually really easy to create a really good basic Auto Duel deck. All we're looking for are 4-star monsters who have really high attack, the highest possible that you have. So for example here we've got a elemental hero guy just released in the latest pack who has 1900 attack, I think the highest in the game, at least at the moment. And we're not interested in his effect, to be honest. Maybe that's for another deck, but for this really basic Auto Duel deck we don't really care. The same applies for something like Red Eyes Wyvern, not interested in the effect, just want his 1800 attack since he's a 4-star. Same with Blue Flame Swordsman, his effect may go off and it may work out for you, but again it doesn't really matter. Other cards obviously don't have effects like X-Head Cannon here and Dark Blade, but there are actually plenty of others. You just have to sort and display monsters and then sort attack high to low and you'll find plenty, like this guy here, Great Angus, 1800 attack, 4-star, cards like that really. As for magic and trap cards, or spell and trap cards, you just want ones that affect the attack of your monsters, or the attack and defense of their monsters. Something like Metal Morph, or what else have we got here? Inspiration. And to search these, just select spell and traps. You don't want monsters. And then you just go to filter and you can filter out ones that increase/decrease attack and defense. Others like here, like reinforcements, you've got rare Metal Morph. Again, if you've got Metal Morph, which you should have, since I think Joey drops, or you can get Metal Morph from Joey as a drop if you duel him at level 30 or above. Metamorph is also gained from Bandit Keith at level 25, but there are also a lot easier cards to get. Most people should now have Econs, they're incredibly useful. Also cards like Super Rush Headlong you can get from a mini box. Ryoku is gained from the card trader, very easily got. Windstorm, pretty much useful in any deck, is got from Mai at level 25 I believe. And you just apply any number of these cards. So for example, one Mirror Wall could go in here very easily, one Wall of Disruption could go in here really easily. And this is simply the easiest way to create a really basic Auto Duel deck. Some exceptions do apply. With monsters, watch out for any that have really tough summoning conditions. Just because they have high attack and are level 4 doesn't necessarily mean that you'll ever actually be able to summon them. So watch out for that. Also watch out for cards like Spear Dragon, which when it may have 1900 attack, but every time it does attack, it then gets turned to defense mode, which can leave it vulnerable since it has, I think, 0 attack or 0 defense or very low defense. So just watch out for cards like that. Also optional are things, the skills. So this is just a general basic Auto Duel deck. Life Point Boost Alpha is probably one of the most useful. It simply increases your starting life points by 1000. You can't go wrong with that really. Again, it's optional, you don't have to have it, but it is kind of useful. I know you can get this on many duelists, as you can see here I'm on Kaiba. Kaiba can get it as a drop from Legendary Duelists. I believe Joey gets it at level 3 and Pegasus gets it at level 4, but you can basically get it as a drop on pretty much all the duelists as far as I know. Right, so on to the alternative or upgraded version of my deck. Again, this uses the same principle basically. 4-star monsters, super high attack. You can see most of them here again. except I've added a few other effect monster cards. So the Mega Cyber, if your opponent controls at least 2 more monsters than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand. So again, incredibly useful. It actually works pretty well in this deck. You've only got Sphere Karibo, everyone knows what that does. Again, works really well. But I'd say the most important one is Thunder Dragon. Adding 3 Thunder Dragons, and obviously its fusion card, Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, makes this deck a lot more powerful than the last. Acts as an effective draw card essentially, of quickly drawing 2 other cards and then shuffling the deck. And then also you can fusion summon a pretty powerful monster, 2800 attack. Obviously then you need to add a polymerization, easy to get from the card trader. Also Fusion Gate from the Ultimate Rising pack. You can also add a Fusion Sage to gain access to one of these cards, I believe, as well. Again, similar magic and trap cards. Don't have to be exactly the same, but I run 2 Super Rush Headlongs here, 2 Econs, a Mirror Wall, a Wall of Disruption, and a Metamorph. Obviously this is free to play, so I don't expect multiple copies of these. I don't even have multiple copies of Mirror Wall. I believe I do of Wall of Disruption, and I'm pretty sure I have 3 Metamorphs, but it's not necessary. Super Rush Headlong is in a mini box, which you can get multiple copies of pretty easily. Econ, again, pretty easy to get if you play any sort of PvP, or if you're lucky you can get it through a drop from Kaiba. Other monsters to include could be something like Yomi Ship, with its effect is also quite useful. But again, this is what I use for most of my auto duels because it's actually incredibly effective. Right, so onto the Fusion Auto Duel deck, probably the most powerful of the 3. However, it does require you to use a legendary duelist who has balance. I believe Mako gets balance at level 20, however many of them can get this as a drop from other legendary duelists. Now, balance has been changed has been nerfed in one of the new updates, but it still basically works for this deck. It hasn't been affected in the same way that any PvP decks might use balance. At the moment I'm using Marek, so I know Marek can definitely use balance, but also many others can. So again, a pretty basic deck, and is all free to play based. You won't see any multiple copies of cards that you have to buy from boxes here. So Thunder Dragon is one that you can use, bought from the card trader. Blue Dragon Summoner is also one you can use, bought from the card trader. Goddess with the Third Eye, Mystical Sheep 1, Visago the Destroyer are all rewards from leveling up legendary duelists. So again, all pretty easy to get. Red Eyes Black Dragon, you get it from Joey, and again, obviously from the card trader. I have 1 Summon Skull in here. Again, you only need 1, so don't need multiple copies of this. Meteor Dragon is just a normal rarity card, I believe, and it's pretty easy to get from, I think is it the Chaos pack? One of the boxes anyway, but again, easy to get. 1 Fusion Gate, again, if you have multiple copies of Fusion Gate, definitely add that in here. Or if you have Fusion Sage, Polymerization, again, you can buy these from Card Trader really easily. And obviously all of these cards here are to help you, to facilitate you to fusion summon the most, some of the more powerful cards in the game. Meteor Black Dragon with 3500 attack here, Black Skull Dragon with 3200 attack, and I have 2 Twin-Headed Thunder Dragons. And again, you'll see that the auto duel system will be quite capable of getting these monsters out. The more fusion type cards or more polymerization type cards you have, obviously the easier it is. But all of these cards in here, none of them are a waste of space. They're all pretty much needed in this sort of deck. And yeah, that's about it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Apart from that, thanks for watching.